Hello, hello, hello. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. How are we doing? Welcome to A Rush to Judgment with Jessica, and I am Jessica. Welcome back if you are a returning. Let me not. Okay. If you're a returning watcher, viewer, subscriber, listener, welcome back. If you're new here, welcome too. It's good to have you. Um, so how is everybody? We doing okay? It is a lovely Sunday evening. Back to work tomorrow. It's wonderful. Good and thankful to have a job and able to provide and do all of those things. So can't complain. So that's right on. So but yeah. So tonight we are gonna do a true crime. Again, I just read the descriptions. I don't know what it is. It is just a reaction to whatever it is. It caught my attention. It grabs you and says, this is the most interesting. And it could be a dud. It could be super interesting. We're hoping for super interesting to make for good commentary and good comments and good things to discuss and talk about. And sometimes they're duds. Sometimes there's not much to say. For that, I apologize for those. For the good ones, right on. But like I said, I don't pre-watch them, so the reaction you get is the reaction you get. It is natural. It is what it is. And that's that. And I just want to remind everyone that I am not an expert, nor do I specialize in any particular area of education or information. It is just me giving my basic thoughts and opinions, my biased judgment on things. Clearly, these are my opinions, my thoughts. If you agree, let me know. If you disagree, let me know. Like, comment, subscribe, share with your friends. If you like the content, go ahead, continue to like, subscribe, go watch some other things. I've got plenty of stuff out there to watch. The more you like, the more you subscribe, the more my stuff can get out there for the world to see. So let's get into this one. It is the sinister story of the Lanz brothers. Lanz brothers? Lanz brothers. Lanz. I don't know. See, that's how you know I haven't watched it. Because I'm sure they tell you how to say their name. Or they say it a couple times in here. But clearly. All right. Let's get into it, shall we? Put me down here. And go.
Police officers from the Sandy. The body cam footage we're about to show you is confronting, shocking, and particularly for the officers who lived through it, downright frightening. It also happens to be the culmination of a crime spree so strange that even those whose lives were destroyed by these events still can't make sense of it. Police officers from the Sandy Springs Police Department had just been dispatched to a home on Cameron Ridge Drive in Fulton County, Georgia, after residents reported an intruder. As it happened, local officers were already in the neighborhood processing a home invasion nearby. When they arrived at the residence, they were informed by the homeowners that the suspect was still on the premises and had just gone upstairs.
Hey, sir, did you call? Hey, so is there someone actively in your house right now? Where's he at? Hey, puppy. Do you know this guy?
Not at all.
Okay.
I
told him not to go upstairs and just went upstairs.
Okay. Has he got any weapons or anything like
I
that?
can't tell.
Okay.
Hey, it's the police department. Come on down. What's your name? Hello.
So they were just in their house and they just
Your
stayed
house
in
is
there.
next door. It's not this one. It
I
is.
don't
It's
believe
next
that.
door, man. This is the residence of. What's that? No, man. Not if you come out right now and talk to us. No, we're not going to twist anything like that, you know. Yeah. Yeah, come down right now and we'll go next door with you. You're in the wrong house. You scared
what do you-
this poor old lady out here. She was sleeping. Yes, of course. Come on. Are you afraid to come up? No, I just am down here waiting for you. That's it. You've been downstairs before, right?
Fucking clearly that he had to get up there.
Are you ready to come downstairs?
You afraid
For
to come up?
5 long minutes, officers negotiated with the intruder, who remained eerily out of sight on the upper floor. And
That's
then
creepy.
this happened.
Are these the only steps up? Hey. Hey, come on down, man. Come on down. Go.
What? What happened? Oh! Shit.
The man you have just seen violently and without provocation attack a police officer is 22-year-old Matthew Scott Lanz, the same perpetrator, it would turn out, who had broken into a home down the street. Unbeknownst to officers, Lanz had pulled out a hunting knife as he descended the stairs and then used it to viciously stab the nearest officer. By the time officers had successfully detained him, tasering, pepper spraying, and finally shooting him, Lanz had inflicted 6 near-fatal wounds to the officer's neck and back. Thankfully, the officer made a recovery, although you can see from this footage that he was lucky to escape with his life. One of the wounds barely missed his brainstem at the base of his skull. Another stab wound was within millimeters of his carotid artery. Lanz, meanwhile, was taken to a nearby hospital where he, too, made a full recovery. But exactly who is Matthew Scott Lanz, other than being someone clearly deranged and homicidal? It's fair to say that, had police officers known more about the man they were dealing with that day, they would have taken a distinctly less diplomatic approach to his detainment. Welcome to Fear Files, where we discuss and dissect the most mysterious, terrifying, and mind-bending cases
if they knew
from
where
all
he
over the
lived,
world.
how did they not know
Before we
who
start,
he was?
we would like to send our thoughts and prayers to the loved ones of all those who fell victim to the abominable acts described in this case. 2 days before Matthew Lanz stabbed a police officer almost to death, tragedy had been unfolding at a house on Verbena Drive in the city of Ackworth in nearby Cobb County. This helicopter footage shows the red brick house on Verbena Drive where the slain bodies of an innocent couple were found. You'll also notice several police officers in the garden of a large weatherboard house that lies right behind the Verbena Drive dwelling. That property is the residence of Teresa and Scott Lanz and their 4 children, one of whom happened to be Matthew Lanz. But this is an unusually complex one. Let's rewind. In the summer of 2019, Philip Brent and Eliza Wells, both age 23, had just moved into their new home on Verbena Drive, Ackworth. Ackworth, as you can see from the images, is an affluent neighborhood of green lawns and sprawling, wide-spaced houses. Located in Cobb County, Georgia, Ackworth lies along the shores of 2 lakes on the Etowah River and the foothills of the North Georgia mountains. It felt like the perfect place for newly engaged Philip and Eliza to start building their lives. But as we know, there's no such thing as perfect. Because just several months after moving into their new home, Philip and Eliza began receiving disturbing hand-delivered letters in their mailbox. Someone was taking explicit pornographic images, folding them into pieces of computer paper, and then scrawling them with messages written with a Sharpie marker. The messages made no sense, and at first the couple dismissed them as mean-spirited pranks by local kids. The letters, however, kept coming. On one occasion, the pornographic image featured a woman wearing a tiara. Accompanying it was a plastic toy tiara. The couple found the combination particularly disturbing. They
That's
didn't know
odd.
it then, but this was just the start of a bizarre campaign that would eventually turn their new home into a tragic and gruesome crime scene. Unable to trace the letters, police recommended the couple install home surveillance cameras. In mid-2020, Philip woke to find a juice bottle with a cigarette in it resting against his garage door. Scrolling back through his security footage, he found footage of a man walking up their drive late that evening and depositing the bottle at the garage door. Philip recognized him immediately. It was Austin Lanz, the 27-year-old man who lived on the property behind theirs. They'd never been formally introduced to him and never had spoken a word to him, but they'd often seen him sitting on his porch smoking when they passed by the large white house on Delphinium Boulevard, where he lived with his parents and several siblings. Austin's father was a successful construction executive, and Austin worked at his dad's company. He'd once aspired to be a Marine. In 2012, he had enlisted in the Marine Corps, but had been ousted less than a month later for, according to his family, high blood pressure. The couple weren't surprised to discover that
Mental
their
health
tormentor
issues.
was Austin. We had already suspected it was him, Philip said. We had to drive by his house often. Every time we passed by, he was outside smoking a cigarette or would just be standing there, and he would give us the creepiest, unsettling looks and wave at us. Austin was issued a warning by police. His parents requested to speak to Philip and Eliza. With police officers present, the couple approached the home on Delphinium Boulevard, where Teresa and Scott Lanz were already waiting outside. They apologized for their son's behavior and said that it had disturbed them deeply. They promised to get him therapy. It was then Austin's turn to apologize. Austin was sitting slumped in a nearby chair. Police officers asked Austin why he was doing these things when he'd never even met the couple. To that, Austin replied chillingly, "Well, I can see Eliza through the bathroom window." Their bathroom in their house, Eliza realized, was visible from the Lanz home. Austin had been watching her, and now he wanted her to know. Needless to say, the blinds on that side of the house were never opened again. But that wasn't the most unnerving part. It was clear from the conversation that Philip and Eliza weren't dealing with your average neighborly vendetta over a boundary line or anything that might be resolved in a rational way. Austin was a man whose grip on reality seemed to be loose, to say the least, and for some reason they'd somehow become the central focus of his bizarre and unsettling behavior. The couple applied for a restraining order from the Cobb County Magistrate Court, but were told there wasn't sufficient reason to warrant one. By October 2020, Eliza had moved out of the house. The couple had gone their separate ways, most likely for reasons more fundamental than the strain of having a stalker next door. But still, no doubt, that hadn't helped. Meanwhile, the pornographic images and other strange items continued to show up at the house. Around midnight on April 18th, Philip awoke to an alert from his alarm company. Someone was in his house. Pulling up his surveillance video feed on his phone, Philip saw that Austin was at his front door, taping a large cardboard sign across it. It bore the cryptic message, "I'm done wondering for real. What is the point of that?" This time, officers issued Lanz with a trespass warning. But by now, Philip was so unnerved, he packed a bag and began sleeping at his sister's house. This, as it would turn out, would be a life-saving move. On April 24th, around 4 a.m., Philip awoke again to an alert. This time, what he saw when he dialed up the video from his home surveillance feed chilled him to the bone. Wearing a mask, Austin had smashed through his back door with a sledgehammer. Armed with a crowbar and a gun, Austin roamed through the house for 13 minutes, switching on lights in every room. In Philip's bedroom, he threw off the bed sheets. Police later said it was clear that he was looking for something specific, or more likely, someone. Police arrested Austin that night on burglary and trespassing charges. At the Cobb County Jail, he argued that he hadn't taken anything. Police
It don't
now got
matter,
their
bro.
first proper glimpse of the madness that was in the mind of Austin
Don't
Lanz.
get to
Planes
be in
were
somebody else's
constantly flying
house.
over his neighborhood, he said, and his phone was being tracked. Then, without warning, he attacked 2 Cobb County sheriff's deputies, seriously injuring both. Several other deputies
High blood
fought
pressure,
to
huh?
restrain him. He accused them of being cowards and challenged them to uncuff him so he could fight them one-on-one. Needless to say, this was a man suffering more than a few psychological issues. Nevertheless, on July 18th, 2021, Austin was released from jail on a $30,000 bail. He was ordered to take a mental health and substance abuse evaluation within 30 days of his release. But Austin
he didn't do that.
would be dead long before that. On August
dear.
3rd, 2021, Austin arrived in the D.C. area and caught a bus to the Pentagon. At the time, journalist David Satter was working in a nearby federal building when he heard gunshots from over near the Metro bus stop. He began filming. There appeared to be a body on the ground surrounded by several police officers at the Pentagon Transit Center. The body is that of senior Pentagon police officer George Gonzalez, a decorated war veteran. Austin Lanz had exited the bus, approached Gonzalez at random, and stabbed him in the neck before pulling the man's gun off of him and shooting him dead. He then fatally shot himself. The Pentagon was put on lockdown for nearly 2 hours. They later issued a report on the attack, ascribing Austin's motive as likely stemming from mental health challenges and a desire to reap revenge on the U.S. military who had foiled his aspirations to become a Marine. He also likely fostered hostilities towards the U.S. authorities as a whole, the report said.
Man accused of attacking 2 Cobb County deputies earlier this year, and then just yesterday, fatally stabbing a Pentagon officer. Joe Hankey spent the day digging through warrants to help us understand more about Austin Lanz's past and the moments leading up to the attack at the Pentagon Transit Center. And Joe, you also spoke to one of his neighbors, right?
Well, that's right, Sheba. One of his next door neighbors says his family has lived in the same home in Ackworth for nearly 3 decades. It's where 27-year-old Austin Lanz grew up and continued to live with his parents, according to this neighbor. She said she knew about the attack at the Pentagon on the Pentagon officer yesterday, but she didn't know Lanz was the suspect till we talked. Information released this afternoon by the FBI in Washington details Austin Lanz stepping off a bus at the Pentagon Tuesday, and then without being provoked, he immediately attacked Pentagon police officer George Gonzalez with a knife. According to the FBI, after killing Gonzalez, Lanz took the officer's gun, shot himself, and then died when other officers, quote, engaged him. Gonzalez is described as a Brooklyn, New York native, a diehard Yankees fan, and an Army vet who served in Iraq.
I'm shocked. I'm really shocked. I've been in this neighborhood for 32 years.
Valerie Simpson says the Lanz family moved into her Ackworth neighborhood shortly after her and raised their family, including Austin Lanz, who had an extremely short military career when he was a teen. In a statement, a Marine Corps major tells 11 Alive, "We can confirm Austin W. Lanz enlisted in the Marine Corps on October 9th, 2012, but was administratively separated on November 2nd, 2012, and never earned the title Marine." Simpson says earlier this year, Cobb County Police came to the Lanz house.
I did see the cop cars out here, and they were talking to the family.
That was April 24th, with police in an arrest warrant accusing Lanz of breaking into another neighbor's home and leaving, quote, inappropriate pictures and messages in the mailbox. When he was arrested for criminal trespassing and burglary, Lanz claimed police had been flying planes over the neighborhood and tracking his phone. Later that day, after he was booked into the Cobb County Jail, Lanz is accused in a second warrant of attacking 2 deputies, dislocating one's thumb and leaving the other with a torn ACL and chipped knee bone, destroying one of their tasers and making verbal threats against deputies. 2 days later, a judge granted Lanz a $45,000 bond. In May, a judge reduced his bond to $30,000 and ordered Lanz to have a drug, alcohol, and mental health evaluation completed within 30 days of leaving jail. Lanz was released from jail on July 18th, meaning that deadline had not yet passed. The Lanz family was not home today when we knocked on their door, but an attorney for the family says they may soon release a statement. The motive for the attack outside the Pentagon, still unknown, and the FBI is still investigating. Flags outside the Pentagon are being flown at half staff in honor of Officer George Gonzalez.
It would seem
Wonder what it's
like
like in the
any desire
Pentagon.
for revenge on the military had long
Wonder
since
if they have
segued into the territory of psychosis,
tours of the
with all
Pentagon.
the feelings
Bet
of
not.
persecution that it entails.
That'd be silly.
Lanz's
But I bet
family
it's
issued
cool
a
in there.
statement offering heartfelt condolences to the family of George Gonzalez, saying that they were sorry and heartbroken. His family said Austin had been overcome by mental health challenges in the recent months and had had several hospital stays and numerous professional mental health evaluations, yet had been unable to get the help he so desperately needed. It appeared to be the tragic end to a tragic chapter. Only it wasn't over
now,
yet.
I don't believe that.
On the morning of November 18th, 2021, police
We'll
were
talk
sent
about
to
it in a
conduct a
minute.
welfare check on the residents of a red brick house on Verbena Drive, Ackworth. They were met with a grisly scene. The body of a young woman was found sitting on the couch. She had gunshot wounds to her leg, wrists, and face. The body of a man was lying on the
Jesus.
floor next to her. He had been shot in the head, shoulder, and torso. It was the same house that, just several months earlier, had been the target of so many disturbing letters, including a home invasion by a man wielding a crowbar. Only that man was now dead, and this was not the couple who'd been harassed for so many long months. As it turned out,
Jesus.
earlier that year, the house on Verbena Drive had been put up for sale. Perhaps the whole stalking experience had taken the shine off the Ackworth neighborhood for Philip Brent. Whatever the reason, the house was purchased on August the 31st, 2021 by Justin Thomas Hicks and his wife Amber Hicks, both 31. The couple had soon moved in, along with their 2-year-old son, Jacob. The Hicks were childhood sweethearts who grew up down the street from each other. Tim was a 6-year veteran firefighter in the Cherokee County Fire and Emergency Services and had recently completed his paramedic training. Amber had studied sports medicine and was an audiology assistant at an audiology and hearing aid center. This was their first home. On her Facebook page, Amber posted pictures of the couple with their son outside the house and thanked their real estate agent for finding them their dream home. September 17th, 2021. Kristen Harden is very dedicated to her job. She was the whole reason we got our dream home. She is a very sweet and professional individual. I highly recommend her and her team. On November 7th, 2021, Amber made her last ever post. Love this picture from our honeymoon and my hubby, Justin Hicks. At 8 p.m. on November 17th, 22-year-old Matthew Lanz left his apartment in Athens, where he was a student at the University of Georgia, and began the drive to Ackworth. With him, he had a tactical backpack, a gun, a knife, ammunition, and a flashlight designed to break glass. By 9 p.m., he was at the red brick house that backed onto his parents' house in Ackworth. With 2-year-old Jacob asleep in his crib, he entered the home, shot and killed Justin and Amber, and then drove back to his apartment in Athens. When Jacob failed to turn up at preschool the next day, Amber's mother requested a welfare check. Police found the bodies of Justin and Amber, with Jacob still in his cot unharmed. He had been hours without food or water, and no one to hear his cries. None of it made sense, not to the police, not to neighbors. The man who'd terrorized the former residents was dead. Could this be merely a chilling coincidence? While homicide detectives launched their investigation into the double homicide in Ackworth, officers at the Sandy Springs Police Department were dealing with the stabbing assault of a police officer by Matthew Lanz. He was, they soon realized, the brother of killer Austin Lanz and a neighbor to the young couple who had just been tragically slain in their own home. Once again, the trail seemed to be leading detectives back to the Lanz family. Could the family have not one, but two murderous sons? It hardly seemed possible. Police examined the surveillance footage from the Hicks home. In it, Matthew Lanz could be seen crossing the backyard on the night of the murders wearing a gray hoodie. During a search of his apartment, police found the gray hoodie was still in his washing machine. They also found ammunition and shell casings. The gun with which he had committed the murders was later found at his parents' home. In February of 2022, a Cobb County grand jury indicted Matthew Scott Lanz in the murder of Justin and Amber Hicks, along with a laundry list of other charges, including 1 count of second-degree cruelty to children. The cruelty to children charge stemmed from Lanz leaving 2-year-old Jacob Hicks alone with his murdered parents. He is currently being kept without bail in the Fulton County Jail. And this, we're afraid, is where the facts of this story come to an end for now.
Cobb County Bureau Chief Chris Jose is live in Marietta with new developments you will only see here on Channel 2. Chris.
And Linda, we saw the lead investigator right here at the Cobb County Courthouse today. Late this afternoon, he revealed new information we have not heard before, including that brand new evidence you just mentioned. Inside the courtroom, he was surrounded by a half dozen deputies for the entire hearing.
Tactical backpack, binoculars.
Those are some of the items Cobb police say they found in a car driven by Matthew Lanz.
And we also found a large metal flashlight that had a pointed end cap on the end, which is designed to break glass.
We got our first look at Lanz on Wednesday. He's
Stab somebody?
accused of shooting and killing Justin and Amber Hicks.
Amber was found still sitting on the couch. Timothy Justin Hicks was found on the floor right next to the couch.
Detective Zachary Standard testified that cell phone data shows Lanz leaving his apartment in Athens, where he was a student at UGA, at 8 p.m. on November 17th.
Ugh.
That same data shows Lanz at the scene of the crime in Ackworth around 9 p.m. Lanz's parents and the Hicks were neighbors and shared a backyard fence. The detective said Lanz drove back to his Athens apartment after the murder.
He found a gray North Face hoodie in the washing machine, and we also discovered
He had that many
ammunition.
deputies around him
Prior to the
because
search at Lanz's apartment,
of his
police say his
safety
parents drove
or
to
other
Athens
people's
and asked him
safety.
if he killed Justin and Amber Hicks. He denied it, but his parents saw the gun allegedly used in the murder.
They confirmed that they took a pistol from his house, but left the magazines and ammunition at his apartment.
And police say surveillance video from a neighbor's camera shows Lanz in the Hicks family backyard. In that video, you see a man wearing a gray hoodie. Investigators believe it's the same gray hoodie they found inside the washing machine at that Athens apartment. Police say they found the gun at his parents' home.
Just like the rest of the Ackworth community, we're left with burning questions to which there aren't any concrete
So many
answers.
questions.
Like others in the true crime community, we can only speculate wildly as to what could have possibly led two brothers to commit such heinous crimes. So on that note, let's speculate. On the question
Okay.
of why the original homeowners were targeted by Austin Lanz, the consensus seems to be that mental illness was the driving factor of his bizarre harassment campaign. It seems likely that a kind of paranoid ideation had taken a hold of Lanz, including the notion that the couple were somehow conspiring against him. Perhaps Austin's delusions were even far-reaching, that the couple had been installed in the house to watch him as part of some government-led conspiracy, hence his talk of phone tracking and his violent attacks on police. But what of Matthew? Amber's cousin speculated that it could have been a case of mistaken identity and retribution for his older brother's death. According to this theory, a violent and homicidal, but not delusional, Matthew had stepped up to finish off what Austin had not managed to do and had mistaken Amber and Justin for Eliza and Philip. But mental illness, we know, has a strong hereditary component. If Austin was schizophrenic or suffering from some form of psychosis, it's possible that Matthew may have developed a similar illness. Living in the same house, they may even have developed shared delusions. Perhaps Matthew had bought into his older brother's beliefs about the couple next door. Perhaps he had come to think of the house itself as part of some covert government operation. After Philip and Eliza had left, a new couple had been installed in their place. Shared delusions are a rare phenomenon, but there have been many examples over the years. Swedish twins Ursula and Sabina Eriksson came to national attention in 2008 when footage showed them running into oncoming traffic on a busy highway in England. Both sisters were hit by cars, leaving
Oh,
one sister
Jesus.
unconscious for several minutes. They resisted help from paramedics and officers, with Sabina shouting, "They're going to steal your organs." But all of this is speculation, of course.
What?
Weigh in with your own thoughts in the comments section
They're
below.
gonna steal
Brent
your
and
own
his former
organs?
fiancée, Eliza, later said they were frustrated with the criminal justice system and felt that it had let them down. Eliza said, "It just causes me to wonder what could have been done differently to help Austin mentally and give him the tools and resources he needed instead of just letting him out on bail." Sadly, that failure of the system cost George Gonzalez his life. It may well have also paved the way for the tragic loss of Amber and Justin Hicks. Our Amber and Justin have been taken from us in such a senseless act, a GoFundMe for the family said in the weeks following the murder. 2 literal angels on earth have been taken too soon. They had their whole life ahead of them, and they leave behind a precious little boy. If you found this story...
Man, okay. So, again, as most murder cases do, or, in things like this, somehow mental illness gets brought up. I do appreciate that. I like to speak on mental illness things just because, like I said, I don't have expertise in areas, but I have a lot of, what's the word? I have a lot of experience working in the field of the mental health and with mental illness, people with mental illness and things like that. And I see the system and how it works pretty much on a daily basis and how hard it is to get the help that people need. So I get that. So yeah, the justice system is not set up to handle people with mental illness at all. A lot of times, if they do have a mental illness, it is easier for them to let them go and say, get the help that you need mentally, especially if nothing serious has happened yet. They will basically wait and say, well, they haven't done anything serious yet. And then wait and, oh shit, they stabbed somebody. And then they'll take them to jail and be like, oh, well, they should have been helped. Okay, well, that's all good and well. But had they gotten the actual help that they needed when the problem was seen, then maybe that bigger problem wouldn't have happened. So I always say it's not a preventative measure, it's a reactive measure. They don't prevent anything from happening. There's nothing that they do that is going to prevent they don't prevent the acts from happening normally. If you have a person with severe mental illness that commits a crime or that does something, oftentimes you find that they've had a long history of mental illness, and you see that they've been hospitalized, they've been institutionalized, they've had a history of mental illness, they've had this, they've had that. So it's not that they haven't had opportunities to get help. It is that either A, they can't continue with the help on their own because they don't have the ability to do it on their own, or because the resources run out, or that they don't want to. So, and then it comes to, again, you see that it's that the problem is there, but the justice system is not equipped to handle it. They Like I said, they would rather get rid of somebody that has a mental health issue and put it off on mental health professionals than keep them in the system, because they know, they're like, oh, well, they need help. They need mental health help. And we don't offer that here. So let's put them out on bond, put them out on bail, require them to do this by this amount of time, but not really give them any way to do that. Or, you know, tell them this is what you need to do within 30 days, but not really tell them how to do it or where to go to do it. You know, it's and then, you know, even if you do, you can hand them, you could hand it to them on a platter and say, here you go. Here's the number. Here's the cards. Here's the contacts. Here's all the things that you need to get set up with services and to do all of the things within the 30 days, and come back for your court date. And they'll leave and get high and won't do it. And then they'll leave and get high, or they'll leave and go do whatever it is that they were going to do. And then the next criminal act that they'll do will be bigger than the last. It's yeah, I don't know. I don't I don't know how to fix it. I don't know how to fix that. So if anybody has any ideas or any suggestions on how to fix the problem, then by all means, because we all see where the problems are. But you can't fix them because you have all these people up here making the rules, but they don't know how shit actually works. So you just got us little worker bees down here scrambling to do the work that doesn't work. And we're just being reactive and trying to be productive in things and trying to give people the help that they need before anything bad happens. It's mental health is not a joke, bro. Like, mental health is a monster. Like, it's a real beast out there. And the system, the mental health system needs a real talking to. It needs a strongly worded letter. It needs something, because whatever it's doing, it's not working. But again, not everybody with a mental health issue commits crimes, and not everybody that commits crimes has a mental health issue. So that's where people get mistaken. Just because you commit a crime doesn't mean you have a mental health issue. And just because you have a mental health issue does not mean you will commit a crime. It just means that when somebody that does unfortunately have a mental health issue, that's what they lean on when the crime is committed. It's is it always the mental health issue? Is it behavioral? I don't know. You know what I mean. Is it just their personality? Is it something else? In this case, without knowing more about a mental health background, I wouldn't be able to say. you know, I wouldn't be able to say if he had any mental health issues, as far as, and if that was the leading cause of what, you know, what. Now, I will say that, not getting in the Marines due to high blood pressure, that's more likely a psych eval that said, he didn't pass that. I would say that, because I don't think he didn't pass some sort of basic entry level evaluation to get in. So that's what that was. Maybe it was high blood pressure. I don't know. But okay, with that said, that was that. That was a little bit nuts up crazy-o. Oh, sorry. I don't like to use the C word. Ooh. But anyway, that was a bit much, to have two brothers do the things. That was poor parents, man. Like, again, like I said it before, when you see me. Oh, I'm back. It just kicked me off for a minute. It's fine. So when, again, like I said, not that our kids are never our responsibility exactly, like, because they're always our kids, but at what point do parents stop being the one you look at and be like, you should have done more? Like, I don't know, because at some point your kids become adults and they start making their own decisions and doing their own things. So, but at what point is it no longer, well, the parents should have done more? Now, I know, like, under the age of 18, obviously, it's your kid, like, your responsibility. But after that, like, it's I mean, I don't know. I hear all the time, parents this and parents that and this and that and the other, and and sometimes, parents really do fail their kids, and I get that. And parents aren't there for their kids, and parents really did fuck up raising their kid. And that's true. And that's obvious in some cases. And, in other cases, it's, a parent could have tried everything and done everything right, and the kid still fucked up. And it's, there's still going to be people out there that question every single thing. And that sucks. Like I've said before too, once I had kids of my own, I stopped judging other parents necessarily, because, you don't know what they're going through. You don't know what that kid is going through. You don't know the situation. I don't judge. I mean, I judge, but I don't because everybody judges. Like that's life. That's what people do. And if you tell me you don't, you're lying. But I don't criticize necessarily somebody else's parenting skills or lack thereof. Um, just because I don't agree with them necessarily. Like, sure, you can sit back and you can say, okay, well, I would have done it this way, or I would have done it that way, or I wouldn't let my kid do this, or I wouldn't let my kid do that. But it's easy to say that when it's not your kid. All these, never before parents, I'll never let my kid sleep in my bed, or I'll never do this as a parent, and I'll never let my kid do that. Please. Until you have your own kid, and until you do those things, you're going to be like, oh, well, maybe I shouldn't have said that. Because trust me, you do a lot of things that you said you'd never do. And you say a lot of things that you never thought you'd say. And you do end up sounding like your mother. Yep. Things come out of your mouth and you're like, oh my God, I sound like my mom. Yep, it happens. Happens often. And when it does, you cringe a little and you're just like, oh God. Yep, okay. You hear it, I see it, it's happening. But okay. Well, that was fun. Whatever. That was something. That was interesting. That was a mess. But thanks for watching with me. Thanks for hanging out. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and like and subscribe as well, and share and let all your friends know, and keep coming back for some more shocking things and interesting things. Okay? Well, I shall see you on the next one. Later.